Hi boys and girls, I would like you to grab your fractions adding and subtracting packet. So this is a newer packet that we're going to be working out of. So grab this new packet. If you have a couple of different colored pencils that you could utilize and then a regular pencil, that would be great. Grab those things and I'll meet you back here. All right, our learning target for today, we are going to be working at figuring out how to find common denominators using the area model. We are going to be working on pages 5 and 6 in your packet. So if you want to have that open right now and just put it off to the side, I just want to make some connections with what Mr. Hayden did yesterday and what we will be doing today. They're linked, but they look a little bit different. All right, Mr. Hayden's video from yesterday, he did some adding and subtracting problems where you were working with using pictures to represent finding common denominators. So this is one problem that he did from yesterday. So you can see that I have 3/4 here and 2/3 here. What he had you do yesterday is he had you take these fraction bars right here, and then he had you divide them, each of these bars going up and down, he had you divide them into thirds. So I'm taking each of these and I'm just separating them into thirds. They do not have the same denominator, so I'm just trying to divide them into equal parts so that I can do that. So I'm taking 3/4 and I'm splitting each of those fourths into thirds. Then he had you yesterday take the fourths and split those, or the thirds, excuse me, and split those into fourths. So let me do that right now. So then I'm splitting each of these into fourths. So this was his model that he did yesterday. Splitting 1, 2, 3, each of these into fourths. So now both of these, if I look at 3/4 and 2/3, if I were to count all of these parts, I now have a common size of each of these partitions here. And if I were to count all of these, they would be 12. Okay? What I've done now is I've just highlighted. So 3/4, I've put that in yellow, and then 2/3 of my original one, I've just put a pink box around that. If I count all of the equally spaced partitions, 3/4 is also equal to 9/12. 2/3 would also be equal to 8/12. And now that I have the same number of partitions in each, I can go ahead and add those together. So 9/12 plus another 8/12, that's going to give me 17/12. So this is how Mr. Hayden did it yesterday. Engage New York today is going to do things slightly in a different way, but the outcome is going to be the same, where we're using pictures to help us. So this was very valuable yesterday, and having different tools in your pocket is always a good idea. So know that today's lesson will be slightly different. I'll model that one right next to it so you can look for similarities. All right, if you would, please get your packet, page 5, and I'm just going to show you how Engage New York is going to do this. So we are going to do problem 1A, and then we're going to kind of look at how that compares with Mr. Hayden's. So open up in your packet to page 5, problem 1A, and you can see that there are two boxes that are drawn there. And just like what Mr. Hayden did over here, he also had two boxes. So that part is going to be the same. Now, this is one whole that is partitioned into two parts. And I'm going to shade one out of the two parts. Okay? And then 1/3, you can see that I have that second whole box over here, but I've actually drawn the partitions going horizontally. And so I'm going to shade 1 out of 3 in that one. All right, so now I have my 1/2 here. I am actually going to take this 1/2 and I'm going to split it into thirds going horizontally. So I've split it vertically this way. Now I want thirds going horizontally. And then just like last week when we did this, I'm going to count where those double shades are together. So 1, 2, 3 out of 4, 5, 6. So 3/6 is equal to 1/2. Then if I do the next one over here, I am going to split this one I split this one, I split 1/2 into thirds. Now I'm going to split thirds in half. So I did this one going horizontally. Now I'm going to split it in half, one of two parts, going vertically. And wherever those cross, then it is going to be the double shading. That's going to be my answer. So 1, 2 have double shading out of 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2/6 would be the equivalent fraction for 1/3. So now that I have these partitioned into 6 equal parts, I can go ahead and add them together. So now that I have 2/6 and 3/6, if I add those together, my answer would be 5/6. So if I were to put these together, 5/6 would be my answer. So as we look at the two different approaches, Mr. Hayden's from yesterday and the one that we're doing today, there are some similarities in the fact that we are taking the two separate fraction strips, or the two boxes, and we are breaking them up into a new way so that the partitions are exactly the same. So this is the way that we are going to be focusing on, the one from Engage New York, for today. So I'm going to pause the video for a moment and we're going to move on with some of the other examples. Let's go ahead and look at problem B right now. We have done the drawing and the partitioning to start out. Later on, you will actually be doing the drawing and the partitioning. So I have my first box here, and I've split this box going horizontally, going vertically. I've split it into thirds. And then I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to shade 1 out of the 3 partitions. So shade 1 out of the 3 with your pencil. Okay, then the 1/5, I've got the second box drawn, and then I've partitioned this box into 5 pieces going horizontally. And then I want to shade 1 out of 5 partitions with my pencil. Okay, so now using my colors, I'm going to choose the blue one to begin with. So I'm going to break the one that is in thirds. I want to partition it in fifths going horizontally. So I'm going to make 4 little lines, 1 as equally spaced out as I can, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm going to draw those going across. And we did practice this strategy last week when we were working with equivalent fractions. And then wherever that double shading, wherever the color crosses the shaded part, that is going to be your new numerator. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 5, 10, 15 smaller partitions. So 5/15 is an equivalent fraction for 1/3. Now I'm going to be doing, I've got this broken up into fifths going horizontally. Now vertically, I want to split it into thirds. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to make 2 marks and split it into thirds. Here's 1/3 and now here's 2/3. Wherever you see that double shading, that's 1, that's 2, and that's 3. 3 is my numerator out of how many total equally spaced parts? So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So now I have these, you can see that these are broken up into, or partitioned into, equally spaced partitions. So then I'm going to go ahead, and now that they are equally partitioned out, I can go ahead and add these. So 5 that are here plus 3 more would be 8 out of 15. So 8/15. Okay, let's bump down to problem C, and we're going to go ahead and look at how these are partitioned. So I have 1/4. So if I were drawing this myself, I'd have a box here, and then I'd split it into fourths going horizontally. And then if I were drawing this myself, again, I'd have a second box and I'd split it into thirds going vertically. All right, so now we are going to do the second part of our strategy. So the one that's broken up into fourths, I want to shade 1 out of the 4 partitions. So with your pencil, go ahead and shade 1 out of the 4. And then with the second one, that's thirds, I'm also going to be shading 1 out of 3. These are all unit fractions with that 1 up at the top. So shade 1 out of 3. So that's step 1. Step 2, I like to use my colors just because I think it's fun. So 1/4 is broken into fourths going this way. Now I want to break it up into thirds going vertically. So that means I'm going to have 2 lines. I'm going to draw them straight down. Okay? And then where those cross together, that will be my numerator. So 1, 2, 3 is my numerator out of how many total parts? 3, 6, 9, 12. So 3/12 is an equivalent fraction for 1/4. Okay. Now I'm going to take this 1/3 and I have that partitioned going vertically. Horizontally, I want to divide it into 4 equal parts. So I'm going to just kind of space those out. I need 3 lines. Okay. And then I'm going to draw those straight across. First, second, third, fourth. Okay. So now where that double shading is, that will be my new numerator. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Out of how many total parts? 3, 6, 9, 12. So now these are partitioned into equally spaced parts. And now, since they are both in 12ths, and keep in mind that 1/3 is an equivalent fraction for 4/12, I can now add those together. So 4 plus 3 more would be 7/12. Okay, so for the next one, I'm going to have you, we'll get it set up, and then I would like you to pause the video and just finish this one. All right, so 1/3, you can see that the box is drawn, and for now, the teachers have drawn the boxes and done the partitioning. We're not always going to do that. So please shade 1 out of 3 partitions here, and this is going vertically. Then the second box is drawn, and that was split into sevenths. Seventh is kind of hard to draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts going horizontally. And I want to shade 1 out of the 7. So what I would like you to do now, well, sevenths is pretty hard, guys. So I'm going to have you do as best you can. Might be easier to just kind of use the model that's there. I'll help you with the sevenths. So thirds, we want to split that into sevenths going horizontally. So I'm just going to kind of look at this as my guide here. 3, 4, 5, and 6. So make those little marks and then draw them straight across to partition your thirds into sevenths. Okay. And then where those double up right here, we're going to count those, and that will be our new numerator. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 out of how many total parts? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So 7/21 is an equivalent fraction for 1/3. And then if I take the sevenths over here, I've split them into sevenths going horizontally. We'll just do this one together since sevenths was a little harder. I want to split it vertically into thirds. So going up and down, I want to make 2 partition marks that are pretty equally spaced and draw them straight down. And then where they double up, I'm just going to put a check mark in there. That's 3 out of how many total? So I'm counting by threes, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. And now if I look at these, you can see that those smaller units that I have, they're 21 on this side and 21 on this side. Now that I have them partitioned equally, now I can go ahead and add. So 7 plus 3 more, that would be 10. And then my number of parts in both of them remains 21. All right, so flip over to page 6, please. All right, you should be on page 6 in your packet. Letter E, you are going to be working on your own. So if you can circle letter E and just put on my own, we're going to do letter F together, and then you will be working E by yourself, and then that is the one that we will use as just a little checkpoint on how you're working on this. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at problem F. And on problem F, you are going to be looking at the two fractions. If I were doing this one, I'd draw my first fraction little box, and I would shade 2. I want to partition it into thirds first of all, so thirds, and then I want to shade 2 out of the 3 partitions that are there with my pencil. I'm shading 2 out of 3. And then the box for the second one, I would draw that one, and then going horizontally, I would want to split that into sevenths. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Beautiful. Now, I want to shade 2 out of the 7 partitions going horizontally. So I'll just go ahead and shade 2 of those. All right, so I have that all set up. Now, I'm going to take my colors, and with this first one here, it's in thirds right now, but I want to partition it going horizontally in sevenths. So I'm going to just kind of look across and just make my little marks. Sevenths are a little tougher. Doesn't have to be perfect though. Okay, and then I'm just going to draw that one across. And then I'm going to double check and make sure that I have sevenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Sure. All right, so where you see that double shading, that is going to be your new numerator. We are looking at making an equivalent fraction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 have that double shading out of how many total smaller partitions? So 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So 14 out of 21 is an equivalent fraction for 2/3. Now I'm going to come over to my 2/7. I'm going to switch colors, and then I want to partition that into thirds. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to make 2 kind of equally spaced partition marks. And then wherever you see that double shading, that's going to be your equivalent fraction numerator. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 6 is my new numerator. If I were to continue counting, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So now that I have my 2 boxes broken into the same number of partitions, now I can go ahead and add these 2 fractions together. So 14 plus 6 more, that's going to get me to 20. And then my partitions that I have, that's going to stay the same. They're both broken up into 21 parts. All right, your job right now is to work through this problem on your own, and then you will be taking some pictures of this lesson in Seesaw. Great job today, everybody, of using the area model to find some common denominators. We'll be coming back to this tomorrow and doing a little bit more work with this. Great job, everybody.